Top 6 actors Jack Elam hated the most. Jack Elam was born as William Scott Jack Elam on November 13, 1918 in Miami, Arizona. He grew up during a time when America was dealing with the hard times of the Great Depression and the big changes of the 1920s and 1930s. Elam's early life was full of tough moments and a strong will to push through difficult times. When he was a young boy, something life-changing happened. He lost the sight in his left eye during a fight with another boy while he was in grade school. That accident, though sad, would later become one of his most special features. It gave him the famous squint that made everyone recognize him instantly on screen. His lazy eye, as people often called it, was not something he tried to cover up. Instead, he accepted it, and over time it became a part of who he was in Hollywood. Before getting into show business, Jack Elam lived many different kinds of lives that showed how hardworking and flexible he was. He studied accounting at Santa Monica Junior College, and after he graduated, he worked as a bookkeeper and auditor for different companies. In fact, Elam was a successful accountant way before he ever stood in front of a camera. He worked with big businesses and even film companies, which gave him his first look at Hollywood life. It wasn't until the late 1940s and early 1950s, when he was in his 30s, that he decided to give acting a real shot. His unusual looks, rough and tough presence, and unmistakable eye condition made him stand out, and the people who hired actors quickly realized that Elam could be the perfect bad guy for the rough westerns and crime dramas of that time. Elam's career really took off in the 1950s when he became typecast, but in the best way possible, as one of Hollywood's most memorable villains. He often played gunfighters, bad guy helpers, and shady outlaws whose scary presence could instantly set the mood of a scene. Some of his earliest and most well-known films included Rawhide, 1951, and High Noon, 1952, two classics of the Western genre where he proved himself as a dependable supporting actor. His rough face, squinting eye, and scratchy voice gave him a unique presence that audiences couldn't forget. For many years, he was the perfect example of the Western bad guy, the kind of outlaw who didn't need an introduction. Just seeing him on screen was enough to warn viewers that trouble was coming. But Jack Elam was more than just a villain. By the 1960s and 1970s, he began to switch into more funny roles, showing Hollywood that his talents went far beyond playing outlaws and killers. His timing, facial expressions, and ability to make fun of his own scary image made him a natural in comedies. One of his most celebrated roles came in Mel Brooks's 1974 comedy western Blazing Saddles, where he appeared in a memorable scene during the film's big battle sequence. Elam also starred in lighter films like Support Your Local Sheriff, 1969, and Support Your Local Gunfighter, 1971, where his humor shined just as brightly as his scariness once had. He was proof that even actors known for their toughness could change themselves and do well in new types of movies. Television also became a big part of Elam's career. He appeared in countless Western TV shows including Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Cheyenne, and Have Gun Will Travel. Later he co-starred in the popular series Alias Smith and Jones and brought his unique presence to the Dakotas and Temple Houston. In the 1980s, younger audiences got to know him in the comedy series Easy Street, where he played opposite Lonnie Anderson and Julie Harris. His change from scary outlaw to lovable old-timer made him a favorite across multiple generations. Off-screen, Jack Elam was known as a warm, funny, and down-to-earth man, quite unlike many of the villains he played. Friends and co-stars often remembered his humor, kindness, and willingness to share stories about Hollywood's golden era. He had a reputation as a complete professional who could light up a set with both his performances and his personality. Over the course of his long career, Jack Elam appeared in more than 200 films and television programs, leaving behind a legacy that few character actors could match. His ability to grab audiences' attention, whether by scaring them as a gunslinger or making them laugh with his comedy timing, made him one of the most versatile and beloved actors of his generation. Jack Elam's personal life was marked by two important marriages that not only shaped his private world, but also gave him stability throughout his often unpredictable Hollywood career. His first marriage was to Jean Louise Hadgert, a relationship that began in 1937, long before Elam found fame as one of Hollywood's most recognizable character actors. At that time, Elam was still a young man trying to find his place in the world, and his marriage to Jean gave him a sense of grounding and purpose. The couple remained married for nearly a quarter of a century, sharing life's ups and downs together, including the tough years before Elam's acting career took off in the late 1940s and early 1950s. Their marriage lasted for 24 years, a rare accomplishment in Hollywood circles where many marriages fall apart under the pressures of fame and constant work. Tragically, their time together was cut short when Jean died of colon cancer on January 24, 1961. Her passing was a devastating blow to Elam, who had relied on her for strength during his growing years and early career struggles. Jean's death left an empty space in his personal life, one that Elam would carry with him forever, even as he eventually moved forward. Despite his grief, Elam did not remain alone for long. Just 7 months after Jean's death, in August of 1961, he married again, this time to Margaret M. Jennison. The speed of his remarriage might have raised eyebrows in some circles, but for Elam, who had spent most of his adult life in the comfort of a committed relationship, companionship was a vital part of his existence. Margaret provided him with renewed emotional stability and became a supportive partner during the height of his acting career. By the early 1960s, Elam was in high demand, appearing in a wide variety of films and television shows, often playing the colorful villains, drunks, and eccentric characters that made him beloved by audiences. Margaret was there for all of it, managing the challenges that came with being married to a man whose work required constant travel and long hours on set. Unlike the short-lived romances often seen in Hollywood, Jack and Margaret's marriage endured not just through the glamorous periods of his career, but also through the quieter years when he worked less frequently. Their marriage would last an extraordinary 42 years, a testament to the bond they shared and the strong foundation they built together. During this time, the couple created a private, happy life away from the spotlight, particularly in their later years when Elam slowed down his work and chose to spend more time at home. Their lasting partnership reflected not only their devotion to one another, but also Jack's deep appreciation for stability after a career filled with constant change. The love and companionship he shared with Margaret stood in stark contrast to the often lonely roles he played on screen, highlighting the difference between Jack Elam, the actor, and Jack Elam, the man. Sadly, their marriage came to an end, not through separation or divorce, but with Jack's passing. On October 20, 2003, after more than 4 decades together, Elam died at their home in Ashland, Oregon, from congestive heart failure at the age of 82. His death marked the close of a remarkable life and career, but it also brought an end to one of the most lasting chapters of his personal story, his marriage to Margaret. She had stood by his side through decades of work, victories, and struggles, and together they had built a life defined by love, loyalty, and strength. In the end, Jack Elam's 2 marriages tell a story not only of loss and starting over, but also of the lasting importance of companionship in his life, a theme as touching as any role he ever played on screen. Jack Elam, the legendary Western character actor known for his distinctive lazy eye, scary looks, and surprisingly versatile comedy timing, was not just a master of the screen, he was also a man of strong opinions about his fellow actors. While many remember him fondly for his humor and friendly personality behind the scenes, Elam was honest, sometimes brutally so, about the actors he disliked the most. Over the course of his long career, which spanned over 5 decades, he developed both personal and professional problems with certain co-stars and peers. The following is a detailed look at the 6 actors he reportedly hated the most, complete with Elam's own pointed observations in quotation marks, which offer rare insight into his private thoughts about Hollywood peers. 1. Gary Cooper. Elam's strong dislike toward Gary Cooper was particularly noticeable. Despite Cooper being one of the most respected and beloved stars of his era, Elam found him unbearably aloof and, in his words, an actor who thought he was better than everyone else on the set. He often told stories of working on westerns where Cooper's standoffish behavior clashed with the team-like energy of the crew. Elam said, "You'd stand there on a dusty set trying to catch a cue and he'd just glare at you like you were a mosquito buzzing near his ear. It made me want to throw my hat at him." He disliked the way Cooper treated supporting actors, believing that his self-importance often overshadowed the work of talented character actors who were vital to making films memorable. Cooper's legendary status meant that few dared to confront him. But Elam, never one to sugarcoat his feelings, didn't hold back in private interviews. 2. John Wayne. Although many Western actors looked up to John Wayne, Elam had a complicated mix of admiration and dislike. He recognized Wayne's charisma and box office appeal, but hated what he considered Wayne's ego and domineering presence on set. "He had this way of looking at you like you'd just committed a crime by blinking too slowly," Elam remarked. Elam resented Wayne's tendency to take over scenes, believing that Wayne's performances sometimes left little room for other actors to shine. While Wayne represented the ideal of the Hollywood cowboy to many, to Elam, he symbolized a rigid, almost authoritarian approach to acting that stifled creativity. 3. Marlon Brando. Elam's dislike for Marlon Brando was rooted in Brando's unpredictable and often frustrating on-set behavior. Brando could walk in and change a whole scene just because he felt like it that morning, Elam once said. As a seasoned actor used to structure and professionalism, he found Brando's improvisational genius infuriating when it disrupted the rhythm of filming. He respected Brando's talent, but couldn't stand the lack of discipline, claiming that working with Brando felt like walking through a minefield where anything could go wrong at a moment's notice. 4. Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, known as the King of Cool, was another actor Elam had little patience for. He considered McQueen aloof and self-centered, particularly when it came to stunts and action sequences. Elam recounted, "You're supposed to work as a team, but he'd insist on doing everything his way, like the whole set existed for his big jump or chase scene. It got old fast." Despite McQueen's undeniable charm and talent, Elam's distaste grew from the frustration of feeling secondary or overshadowed in scenes that required true teamwork and cooperation. 5. Kirk Douglas. Elam's distaste for Kirk Douglas was more personal than professional. While he acknowledged Douglas's commitment to his craft, he often criticized what he saw as Douglas's aggressiveness and relentless ambition. "That man could bulldoze a whole crew just to get a better angle for his close-up," Elam quipped. He felt that Douglas's relentless drive sometimes bordered on ruthlessness, creating tension and stress on sets where collaboration should have been the priority. 6. Elizabeth Taylor. Rounding out the list was Elizabeth Taylor, whose legendary beauty and charisma often hid a reputation for being difficult to work with. Elam was blunt. She could charm a room, but try working with her when she wasn't in the mood. "You'd swear the cameras were your enemy." He found her changeable temperament and diva-like tendencies exhausting, and while he respected her screen presence, he considered the challenges of filming alongside her as a test of patience and endurance. Jack Elam's list of disliked actors reveals a fascinating side of Hollywood's behind-the-scenes dynamics, showing that even the most talented performers could inspire strong emotions in their peers. His comments, often honest and colorful, highlight the tension between fame, ego, and teamwork in the film industry. While Elam's own career thrived on his ability to support and enhance films without seeking the spotlight, his criticisms of these stars show that even a legendary character actor had his limits when it came to professionalism, personality clashes, and on-set behavior.